Hey everybody, welcome back to Droogy's Lounge for another episode number 5 of the March to 300. And I'm your host, Drevens Droogy. Glad to have you joining in again this week as I continue to take very small steps to whittling down my music library and selecting the best 300 CDs to keep in my permanent CD rotation. Before we get started, I'm wearing a shirt today from Mercury Lounge. If you are ever in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, this is a must-see, especially if you're a music geek like me. It's a place locals know about it. You may not see it on Yelp or on your other different TripAdvisor apps you might use to plan your trips, but if you are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you need to stop in, check out some of the live music that is there, I believe almost on a daily basis. If Johnny Mullenax is playing there, you got to check him out. He's one of the best live acts going today, touring the country, but his home base is right there at the Mercury Lounge in Tulsa. And I just want to give a shout out to Johnny and the boys and to the Mercury Lounge. So let's go ahead and get started as Miss Mona Joyfinder has with us another selection of the March to 300. We'll see how many make it. Last week, again, Zach Jackson stopped in from the C&Z show, helped me out on some selections. Kept quite a few last week with him, and we'll see if we have any luck this week. And again, these are all picked randomly by Miss Mona, so I don't know what these are until I pull them out of the box, and we'll see what we got here. All right, today, the first one, we have the Tears for Fears. Everybody loves a happy ending. This is an album put out after their heyday in the 80s. They did get the boys back together for this particular album. It's pretty good listen all the way through. I listened to it quite a bit when I first got it. I don't know the staying power if I'd want to keep listening to it on a daily basis today, but definitely a good CD back in its time. It's worth a check out. I'm going to have to probably eliminate this one from staying in the permanent library though, but definitely a good CD. It seems kind of connected to their older stuff, so it's not a big variance from what they did before, but not one I would want to keep in the permanent library. So. First one, Tears for Fears. That particular selection has to go. All right, here we go. Jeff Beck, the Jeff Beck Group in Beckola. And Jeff Beck passed away a few years ago, but a guitarist that had a very traveled history, played with multiple different acts and different groups, the Faces, or actually played with guys who played in the Faces. Met Rod Stewart along the way, had some good albums with him. This one here, I think I got just to check out some of his other stuff in the 70s. I didn't get too much into this one, although Jeff Beck was probably one of the best guitar players ever to lay down some tracks in the rock and roll genre, but probably not going to keep this particular Jeff Beck entry. So this one, 0 for 2 so far, Jeff Beck has to go. All right, Corrosion of Conformity is here. This particular group came out in the 90s, kind of during the grunge phase, and the one song on the previous album that came out was a song called Albatross. I kind of liked that song, which made me buy that particular CD at the time, and then I went ahead and bought this one when it came out. They didn't really click with me. I think they were trying to be a little bit of an Alice in Chains ripoff, which Alice in Chains is one of my favorite bands, so that they really appealed to me. They weren't that good of a ripoff of them, so I wanted to have to say this Corrosion of Conformity is going to have to also go away. So we'll get rid of this one and go on to the next. This is the Green Day Warning album. So one of their more popular songs, Warning, is on this one, of course. But Green Day's a little up and down for me. I like their very early stuff. And to me, I understand musicians and politics. That's kind of their thing. You have a lifestyle and you can afford to have political views. You say whatever you want. That's their right. But sometimes the groups let the political stuff take over their career. And these guys kind of went way off track for me. So not going to keep the Green Day here, Warning. But a couple good songs on it, but nothing I want to. And then when you factor in when I hear a Green Day song, I think about all their interviews in recent years, and that just makes me want to hit skip or put it in the goodbye stack. So goodbye to Green Day on the Warning. All right, this one here, the Last Action Hero movie soundtrack. Now, this came out in the day, The Last Action Hero, Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. I think universally one of his worst probably movies he made. But this soundtrack was actually pretty pretty good and pretty varied. We have a couple of Alice in Chains songs, which they were only on this. They weren't off of their other albums, so they had a couple tracks they had saved or used just for this soundtrack. Plus you have AC/DC, Def Leppard, Cypress Hill. So a pretty good soundtrack, very fitting for the time, in the early 90s. I'm not going to keep this one in the 300, but as far as soundtracks go, definitely a pretty good soundtrack, especially if you're in Alice in Chains. You can get a couple of deep cuts they have here, which are pretty good tunes as well. All right, here we go. Pearl Jam, the binaural album. Of course, Pearl Jam's main came out in the 90s with the grunge rush, and this one here, I don't remember really actually catching on to any of these songs. This is a little bit later after they put out their first few albums during the grunge heyday. And sad to say, as much as I like Pearl Jam when they first came out, this is not one. Maybe Light Years is a song I can remember hearing, but this one is not going to make it for me. Maybe another Pearl Jam one down the road on another episode is going to make it, but this one, binaural, is going to have to go. All right, this one here looks like I've lost the sleeve, but it is the Screaming Trees Dust CD. Screaming Trees, again, another 90s grunge band. They weren't as well known as the Pearl Jam and Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and Nirvana, but they did a lot of ran a lot of the same circles. A group like Mad Season, their drummer played with Lane Staley and that, so a lot of crossing around with each other. Mark Lanigan had solo albums. He played with Queens of the Stone Age, so a very influential group, very popular group. This particular one's got a couple of good songs. It's not going to be enough for me to keep, but as far as if you're interested in the late 90s, mid 90s grunge, you got to check out the Screaming Trees albums as well. They're definitely a group that belonged in that, although they weren't as commercially successful. Definitely a good group that I enjoyed, but this particular one, not going to be a keeper. All right, this album here is Space Hog, and this is the Resident Alien album. Of course, In the Meantime is the song that Space Hog is mainly known for, and there's a couple other decent songs on this particular album, but kind of one of the one-hit wonders for me. I really like the In the Meantime song. Actually, I heard somebody play it. The Kimber Davis band played this a week or so ago at a show in Ocala, which was a good version of it. But not enough for me to keep an entire CD. Probably a lot of ones I'm going to hit skip or fast forward. So Space Hog, also afraid not going to make it. All right, we have another soundtrack here. This is the South Park soundtrack for their movie. And this is more of a comedy album. If you're a big South Park fan, you'll get probably enjoy it. There's a lot of snippets and cuts from the show. There's some songs mixed in here. Definitely not something I'm going to keep on a permanent library rotation though. But pretty cool. I got this. Primus plays the theme song for the show, so I picked this up, seeing what kind of other cool stuff is on there. But nothing I want to keep for the permanent library. All right, we just got a few more, but coming up one looks like we might have our first keeper of the day. This is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's a compilation, greatest hits, and this one covers their time from start up until the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album in 90. So this has all the stuff before they really hit. It's got the different various guitarists and drummers that played throughout the early years, and not every song on here is great, but I do appreciate the early Chili Peppers songs. Fight Like a Brave is one of my favorite ones from that period of time. So this is one because of a good mixture of the compilations and one of my favorite bands. This one we'll throw in the keep stack over here, which is a little bit out of camera shot, but it's not very tall. So this week we've had a lot of ones we're getting away with, getting rid of, a couple stinkers in there, but the Chili Peppers do make it. This one here, another Rollins band. We had Hidden Rollins and the Rollins band a couple episodes ago. And this one here, yeah, I can't think of any I remember hearing much of or really catching on with me. So, not much really to add on this one. This is one I think I got because that phase, like I mentioned before, a couple good Rollins band songs and I was just trying to catch other ones when they came out, and they never really, were not really caught on it for me. But again, this might be one if some of you out there want to tell me what I missed out on the whole Rollins Band thing. Let me know. I'd like to hear from you. But this one, we're going to go ahead and put that in the go away stack. And our final one is one of my wrestling compilations, and this is the WWF The Music Part 2. And just looking through there, these are all just original songs from the WWF. So there's no actual songs that they borrowed or used from people like Limp Bizkit or Motorhead. These are all just songs made up by the WWF. Cool stuff, especially if you like the late 90s WWF. A lot of friends out there are into that as well. You could probably get a kick out of hearing some of these songs, but probably nothing I'm going to keep on my permanent library. So very cool, especially for wrestling fans. But this is one that we'll have to make go away. So out of the CDs, though, Miss Mona, today we have one keeper, and we're getting rid of a bunch. So that's the way some of these weeks will go. Now maybe next week we'll have a little bit better of a selection that comes up that I want to keep. But this is where I ask you again to please subscribe to the channel and please make comments. I'm sure some of you really are into Green Day, maybe in the Rollins Band, maybe Space Hog has this great list of albums that came out after, and I just totally missed the boat on the Space Hog thing, although I do like it in the meantime. But anyway, let me know, make some comments down below, hit subscribe, and we're going to check you again real soon here on the March to 300.